everyone. There are programs and handouts on the table to the left if you would like them. There's also programs on the table over here. Thank you all for joining us today for our grant preservation, dedication, and ribbon cutting ceremony. I am Deborah Smith, President of the Board of Trustees of the Protestant Community Church, also known as Cathedral of the Woods. It is my happy pleasure to welcome you all today. PCC is an inclusive ecumenical faith community seeking to be caring, faithful disciples of Jesus Christ through worship, study, prayer, and Christian service. We have been part of this community since 1931. That's right, 90 years, when the sanctuary behind me was built as one of the earliest public buildings in Medford Lakes. Today, we recognize the hard work, generosity, and faith of many to bring us to this celebratory day. Today, we also gratefully acknowledge the donors, contractors, and all those who have made this historic day possible. We also recognize with great gratitude the generous matching grant from the Preservation New Jersey Historic Preservation Fund for this historic site. This is more than a site. To those of us who have worshiped and raised their families in, labored and planned for, and donated to this institution, it is simply our home, the home of our church family, and we are so glad that you are able to be with us today to celebrate. On that note, I would like to introduce one of our celebrants today, our pastor, Reverend Dr. R. Timothy Meadows.
We're delighted that you've joined us today, and it is good to see you. We hope that you will truly enjoy this momentous occasion. It is my privilege at this time to welcome my predecessor and your former pastor, our Pastor Emeritus Steve Winkler, who will deliver our invocation for the day.
Well, it is a pleasure for us to be here. We invite you now to bow your heads in prayer. Well, Lord, your people have gathered here this morning to mark a moment in the unfolding story of the family of God who meet in this place. We have come to know this space as holy, for here we have hoped and dreamed. We have sung praises and sat in sacred silence. Here we have received comfort and solace, direction and meaning, and a sense of belonging from the fellowship born of your Spirit. Nearly 9 decades ago, these walls were raised and people began to build a community that is the body of Christ. Here, marriages were blessed, babies were baptized, loved ones' passings were mourned. And here we encountered the power of the presence of the living Christ. Today, we celebrate the efforts made to preserve and build upon the treasures that have been passed on from the cloud of witnesses that surround us. We know the words of the psalmist to be true. Unless the Lord builds the house, those who build it labor in vain. We've come to rededicate this place to your glory and our lives to the discipleship of the one known as the carpenter's son, even Jesus Christ the Lord, in whose name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Steve. At this time, I would like to introduce Board of Trustee member, Vice President of Property and Grant Co-Chair, Brent W. Schopfel. This project has been a labor of love for Brent for over 4 years. We are so grateful to Brent for all he has done to coordinate and project manage the entire process with boots on the ground. Brent.
Good morning. It's funny, when I got here this morning, they gave me a name tag, which I've lost already. which tells you a little bit about my age and so forth. And the other thing, they asked me where I wanted to sit, and I said PJs, and they said no. I'm going to be a little bit more specific with all of this. And how did we get here today? Okay, and it goes back to Leon Todd's vision, forethought, and generosity. Okay, and building a community and a church. Okay, to serve that community. The architectural style is integrated with the community, and that's what I think that some people have lost along the way. This is the community also. Okay, this is how it started, and to this day they maintain. There's been improvements over the years, and there's a number of people who have been a part of that. The stained glass windows and so forth. So making the building even more warming, more architecturally significant, okay? And we've had caretakers of the property over the years, and some of the most recent ones, Harry Harrison, Paul Volstrom, and Alan DeCastro. And it's been everybody's responsibility to maintain this building the way it is maintained today, and we're very proud of that. We have to give recognition to the trust without any question whatsoever. Without them acknowledging the building as historically and architecturally significant, we would not have been put on the state register, historic register, and on the national register. As many of you do not know, Memorial Hall is already on the registers and had been there for 10 years, okay? The state, it was just wonderful, and we found out when the state gave us the recognition on the registers and all, we said, okay, what do we got to do? And we looked around the church, what had to be done? And there was a lot, okay? The basement wall was failing, the logs on the side were everything else, and we said, well, how do we do this now? Because, as we all know, there's not a lot of available money here and everything else. So somebody came up with a great idea, writing a grant application. And it was interesting because none of us had ever written a grant application before, and we'd only been on the register for 3 months, and we thought we were being a little cheeky, so we cut back what we asked for and everything else, but we were granted. The people who wrote the application, Carol Volstrom, Paul Volstrom, Alan DeCastro, and myself, we had about a week to put it together, and we were awarded $113,600 to help us do the exterior log restoration, replacement of the basement wall, and some other miscellaneous carpentry things, and grading, of course, on the side lot. And it went well. Our selection of the architect to help us along this was Margaret Westfield from Westfield Architects and Preservation Specialists. Without Margaret, we would not have done as well as we've done. She was absolutely indispensable through all of this. The engineer we chose was Melanie Rodbart from J&M Studio, Preservation Studios. Both of those people I've worked with many times over the years. And our selection of contractors, okay, were people that we knew, okay? And to mention just a couple, and I don't mean to leave anybody out, but the Evans Brothers Carpentry from Bethlehem, which are members of the Timber Guild. They were here, as many of you know, a long time ago, built the steeple. They repaired the back wall here and put up the supports inside the church. So they were the excellent choice to do the sidewall work, okay? And the masonry was done by Knapp Preservation. Again, somebody who worked for me for 20-some years, who went out on his own and has an excellent reputation in historic masonry. With the grant acceptance, we would not have been able to do this without the trust giving us, the opportunity and the money to do this. So we have to thank them over and over and over again on that. As we came towards the end of it, we had an inspection by Haley McAlpine, and I hope I'm saying that right, okay? She came out and she looked at me and she says, why didn't you ask for more money for the roof? And we thought we were being pretty cheeky asking for what we asked for, at that point. So, and then we're walking around the property and she looks up at the roof and I look up at the roof, and the idea comes, well, we've got some money left over. Would the trust be willing to let us use the money for the new roof? And she says, yeah, I think they would. It'd have to go before the committee. So we started working on that and getting prices for the roof, and we chose Alper Enterprises, who has a long-standing history with me and a long-standing history of historic property roofs and stuff like that. And they gave us a price, and it was the low price and the best reputation. Well, we started to get started, and then the other thought says, okay, the trust is giving us about 20, it turns out about 25% of the roof replacement. What are we going to do to get the other 75% at that point? And that's when, everybody gets up and starts leaving the room. I thought today an excellent thing was anybody sitting in his chair, if they gave $1,000, we'd make our goal, but I was told there won't be anybody for the rest of the program. But, I have some thanks to do. There's many people who have contributed many ways to this, and I don't know them all, and I certainly can't name them all. But some of the very prominent gifts that were given for the grant and the roof was the Yingling family, which has always supported the church in many, many ways, financially and so forth. Another one was Mickey Finken, who was supposed to be here today, and I don't see her, but also very nice contributions. And we came to the end of this, and the roof being finished finally after a long period of time. And we came out to the front of the church, and we had to put the cross back up because the tree over here fell down and knocked the cross off and everything. And we said, boy, the narthex roof looks terrible. And it's like, okay, nobody's going to look at it. They're just going to see this terrible narthex roof at this point. So we said, okay, it's not part of the grant, but can we replace the narthex roof and everything else? Well, turns out that Alice Darcy, in memory of her sister, donated the money to replace the narthex roof, so kind of completing the envelope completely. So I can't say how thankful I am to everybody who has contributed in any way whatsoever. This new roof should last 40 to 50 years. One of the things I'm very thankful, I'll be long gone by that time, so I won't have to do it again. But again, we owe the trust a huge thank you for their participation and guidance through this process. Now I come to that other point, right? We're still about $30,000 shy of our goal raising money. Okay, you notice I held that to the end of this talk and everything else. So search your hearts and your pocketbooks. No gift is too small. And let me add something. No gift is too large either. Okay, so with that, Deb, you're going to have to tell me, who am I supposed to?
Thank you, Brett.
All right, thanks.
Next, I would like to introduce a longtime member of PCC, Carol R. Vollstrom. We are so appreciative of Carol for many reasons, least of which is that she is the other dedicated half of our grant co-chair team. Carol?
Thank you, Deb, and good morning, everyone. It is a lovely day. I have Deb Smith's speech right here in front of me, which is lovely. No, you know me, and you know what I'm going to say, and I would love it if you'd say it with me, and some of you will say it with me because I already asked you to. So, this is the day the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. Amen. Wow, 4 years. What an amazing journey of learning and doing. To borrow from Dr. Seuss, oh, the places we have been. The researching, the writing, the building, and the glitches, all right here. While the incorporated name of this church is the Protestant Community Church of Medford Lakes, and we are decidedly Protestant, the word in that name that is so important now today is the word community. It was, after all, thanks to Leon Todd's vision of a summer retreat colony built with local cedar logs all around copious lakes, that we're here today. It was a community in the early 1900s that built these churches. St. Mary's, as was, and is now our fellowship hall, and PCC, as we call this sanctuary. This seemingly simple log structure behind me houses nearly priceless stained glass windows, a 9-rank Moeller pipe organ, brass altar accessories, and I'm going to say it wrong. Where's my husband? A Shumoric. How'd I do? Good. Electronic carillon, that's important because it's a very specific carillon. It was donated by Dr. James Einen in memory of his wife, And it was one more occasion of seeing that go up and hearing it play. That's what was playing as you came today. And it resembles and it calls back to us the original steeple bell that called people to worship on Sunday mornings here. But this log church has branches that reach beyond this immediate Medford Lakes. And so, for 4 years ago, 4 of us came together, as Brent just explained to you, to apply for a grant. And as Brent said, and I cannot emphasize enough, we had never done that before and had no idea how to get started. But there are people here, and that's typical of this area, who have written grants. So they step forward to say, here's what you really need to pay attention to and what you really need to do. But those are all stories for another time. Alas, the heat today, and of course this is a church, so the limited time rental for the chairs dictate that I move on. As in any endeavor, there's never just one team of 4. Rather, it takes many folks from communities, there's that word again, from near and far to bring all aspects of the grant to successful completion. The culmination of the grant process, which some of you know, is the publishing of a brochure, which hopefully you've picked up. They're on Sid has put them nicely on the table here and a table there. Please take it and share it. And the installation of interpretive signs to be unveiled. That's there. The caveat here is that all information that is printed in the brochure and on the signs must be verifiable. So while we read in numerous sources about the architect for PCC and the contractor, we had to be able to certify the accuracy of that information. Yikes. And I think Catherine would be sympathetic. 1900s builders and townships did not keep records of things the way we do. It was a handshake, Leon says. Sure, we'll build you that house. Here's the contractor. Not detailed records. So, we have to go to work. And when we began this, it was before COVID, but then COVID hit, and that really, really hit us, as it has everybody. So here are just a few examples of how this community comes together. And this church has branches out to many communities. It's Camden County as well as Burlington County. So let me tell you about the Roberts. The Roberts are friends of ours. I think they'll admit that. And they invited me to go floating in their lake. And I was grousing about the fact that I had to find out information about this architect, Ronald Sensman. We had to, not me. We had to, the committee. And they said, Ronald Sensman? Well, his father, Raphael, was a very important artist in Collingswood and went door to door. We have his artwork in our house. And with that, Kathy leaps out of the lake and she goes and she gets the brochure that is all about, Ronald Sensman and his father, Raphael. Nowhere does it say, however, that he was the architect at 18 years of age for this church. We go researching. Yes, he has a wonderful reputation. He went on to New York City. Raphael Sensman is very well known in the historic architect field, but we have to be able to certify this. Okay, so where do we go? Another conundrum. We go to, Gager is the name of the contractor, we believe, for this sanctuary, for that building. Nobody wrote down Gager's name as this was our contractor. I know Joan's nodding her head because she knows. This Joan Todd Lewis sitting here and she knows all these stories. They're handshakes, they're welcoming events. So we figure, okay, we really have to figure out how we're going to do this. So, lo and behold, the McCormicks sitting back there, who are professional archivists, get volunteered. Easy. I called them and I said, here's our situation. The team needs your help because you know how to do this. And of course, what do they say? Sure. And they know people everywhere. So they start digging. Now COVID's hit, so things are shut down. But they keep reporting back to us, here's the information we have found. We give that to our amazing, unbelievably wonderful architect, Margaret Westfield. Pretty soon, we figure out this 6 degrees separation moment of Margaret knows the McCormicks, who know this person, who know that person, and Catherine Smiley. This is what happens, isn't it? The whole thing about this is it's a labor of love, yeah, but it's an outreach beyond believability. So thanks to the McCormicks, we were able to verify or use language that indicates that Ronald Sensman, 18-year-old, this was his first project, Gager, contractor, primary contractor in the lakes, and other factors. Gail found, or I don't know who did it, Gail and Mike, found pictures. You'll see them displayed because they can be verified. This is amazing work. See, that's why we got so excited, and Brett and I just kept going, because you just keep going. You just keep going. The entire endeavor, however, took place, of course, under the leadership of Margaret Westfield. I skipped somebody. There's a lady here who would not want me to do this, and I know how that feels. But the absolutely inexhaustible Elizabeth Taylor, my friend Liz Taylor, our church member Liz Taylor, all of us love Liz Taylor, not just for her name, but because all she does. Whenever we came to a conundrum about appropriate wording, whatever, her profession is that of an editor. So, hello, Betty. Would you like to read this sentence? And we all went to her. We all used her. So, thank you, Betty. Anyway, as I was starting to say, Margaret Westfield is amazing, and I wish you could all meet her at some point, and she wishes to be here today. But as you might know, family first, and she is attending a shower for impending grandchild. So, more important, I think she's made the right decision there. The more people you talk to in this field, the more you're aware of all the people Margaret knows, all the people she'll put you in contact with. I don't know how many phone calls, Brent, you made to her, and I called her just a couple of times, but Brent was the main, he's worked with her for 40 years. And so Brent was the main contact with Margaret, but she's gracious, and she's sharing, and she's funny. And so she helped us so much. And I have to thank her publicly, and since it's being recorded, loudly. Our connectedness throughout communities is evidenced by folks who travel great distances to be married here, to celebrate baptisms, to say goodbye to loved ones, and the many who worship here. It is a Medford Lakes community that extends way beyond Medford Lakes. Many of the congregation are from local communities, and some have even grown up in this church. And that leads me into the introduction of Joan Todd Lewis. She is going to be cutting our ribbon. If we were to really trace this back, this all began, and it's really Brent's fault. Shouldn't have recorded that. Brent had the idea that vernacular architecture folks would like to come and see this community. And so you were invited? How did that work?
Actually, Margaret asked me if we'd be willing to provide our campus for their meetings.
So vernacular architects are the folks who study architecture that's indigenous to the community in which it is. And so we thought, well, there has to be a tour. That was back in 2014, I think. And there has to be a tour. So what do? You say, Joan Todd Lewis, are you busy? Which is a very stupid question to ask Joan. And she said, what do you need? And I said, actually, it occurred while I was paying attention, Steve, I was sitting in the narthex in front of Joan. And I turned around and I said, I have an idea. Do you remember that? Yes, I'm sure she does.
I remember it well.
So she put together this amazing day for vernacular architecture to be here. They not only got to see our campus, they got to see other cabins, they're called here, lovely log homes in this whole area. It was the favorite tour that day, and that got going the interest in this campus, which made us then decide, well, Grant, we could do that. Here is what Joan tells me about herself. She's the daughter of Harrison and Elizabeth Oakes Todd, and the firstborn granddaughter of Leon and Helen Todd, who had 4 grandchildren. Joan's mom and dad met in Medford Lakes, swimming across Lower Etna. And Joan met her husband Bob while they were camp counselors at Medford Lakes Camp. Bob and Joan were married by Dr. Cornelius Musty, the first.
Old.
She's not old. The first minister of the Cathedral of the Woods. Joan and Bob's 3 children were baptized in and attended PCC, and they were married by Dr. Say and by the Reverend Steve Winkler. Bob, he might be a little older, has attended PCC from the age of about 9 until the present time, and Joan joined the church in 1964. She tells me they are old-timers, to say the least.
They're the old timers.
This church has so many special meanings for both Bob and Joan, and because of that, they have chosen this to be their final resting place. Our altar is a columbarium. They are so grateful for all the work that has been done by many to preserve this unique Cathedral of the Woods, their forever church home. So, our Deb has provided the necessary equipment for Joan to cut the ribbon. Sure. This is serious business. All right.
I hope I can do it.
Okay. We're having camera issues here. All right.
Wait.
Here we go. Now, Joan, I'm just going to hold these two. So what,
Wait
pop
till
up
I
there.
get up there. All right. Unveil myself.
I don't know how you should do it, but
Before I cut
yes,
it,
please, Joan.
I just want to say with such gratitude in my heart to thank Brent and Carol and our board of directors and our ministers who have really pulled this together. And I'm just so proud of our community here.
Oh, I asked Joan this question. I do stop talking eventually. You'll be glad of that. I asked Joan this morning if she might share something rather personal about Leon Todd. I think all of us know Leon Todd as the great developer and visionary that he certainly was. But I wonder what Grandpa Leon was like. Joan, you want to come to the microphone? Or you want to cut?
Let's cut it.
Okay.
And then I'll tell
Because you're a little afraid of that?
Yeah, I would like Brent and Carol to come up because they've been so involved in this project, and I know.
Maybe if I go back there? Oh, you want me here or there?
Such a nice bow. I hate to cut it.
Deb Smith did that.
Deb, come on over here.
There's room on this side now. There's room.
A long time a coming, but what a wonderful project this has been. Thanks to all of you.
You snip. We just need to undo it down here. But
Nice. Let's grab your hand. Thanks.
so, Joan, can you tell us a little bit about Leon?
Who was Leon? Everybody asked me, who was Leon? Well, he asked me to call him Leon. He was my grandfather. He wasn't Pop or anything like that. But he was a very charismatic man who had a lot of forward thinking to plan this community that everybody's now trying to buy houses in, which makes me really thrilled. But he loved the community. He loved working here. And he loved that we all had these wonderful lakes to swim in. The kids had the camp to go to. And a church, he said, is so important. So they were the two things he wanted to make sure got built. And the Catholic Church and the Protestant Church used to have card parties together that he and Helen, his wife, would always attend. And it was a wonderful community effort to raise money for both churches, not just for one. It was, as Bud Wingert knows, it was very successful. My grandmother was very active in the auxiliary, and she used to sew and make monkeys and little dolls and things. Parents were in Hawaii. And the teacher asked me, he said, well, who's Leon? I said, well, I just can't really explain him. That was it.
Thank you so much, Joan. Great stories. It's my happy pleasure to introduce Catherine Eng. Catherine has a background in innovation and business management, which serves her well in her position as Vice President with Wu and Associates Design and Construction. She's a certified lead AP, and in 2014, she was nominated by Governor Christie and approved by the State Senate to serve as a trustee for the New Jersey Historic Trust, for which she currently serves on the Executive Committee as Vice Chair. Please welcome Catherine Eng.
Good morning, everyone. So as everyone before me has already explained the wonderful story of what happened here, I am just going to recap and then express some appreciation for all of you folks. The Protestant Community Church of Medford Lakes was awarded a capital grant in 2017 of $113,640 to stabilize the foundation and selectively replace log siding that was damaged beyond repair. The scope also included some regrading, tree planting, door, and window repair. By August 2020, the church had completed the original scope of work and it had come in under budget, which, by the way, is very rare. The Trust Grants and Loans Committee authorized the church to use the remaining grant funds to replace the wood shingle roof in kind, and the roof was recently completed. In the eyes of the New Jersey Historic Trust, the Protestant Community Church of Medford Lakes has been an excellent, responsive grantee. Your grant managers have submitted all reporting in a timely manner without prompting. And according to Haley McAlpine, our trust staff member who has been working with you, you are some of the nicest, most well-meaning people she has ever met. Current and future grantees of the trust would certainly have something to learn from you. So now I have to give a little plug for the trust. Our next grant round will not be announced until January 2022. And in the meantime, I would like to invite all of you to consider attending the 2021 History and Historic Preservation Conference, which will be held virtually this year on June 3rd, 10th, and 17th. And since it's an online conference, we hope many of you will decide to participate as there is still time to register. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Catherine. We are pleased to have with us today Burlington County Commissioner Linda A. Hines. Commissioner Hines is a lifelong resident of Burlington County and has a passion for public service. She has served on the West Hampton Board of Education for 5 years, the West Hampton Township Committee in 2017, and served as deputy mayor for 2 years. As a commissioner, she serves as liaison to the elections, prosecutor, resource conservation, and schools. Please welcome Burlington County Commissioner Linda Hines.
So I don't know how we're doing on the chair rental. I'll try to keep it brief. So I am Burlington County Commissioner Linda Hines. If that's a term that doesn't sound familiar, we were formerly known as freeholders, and effective January, we are now officially commissioners. So we have a wonderful public information office at the county, and they prepare these wonderful remarks. And I'm notorious for throwing them out the window and speaking from the heart. So I'm not going to recap about Leon Todd and being a visionary. Let me tell you why I am so excited to be here today. So first and foremost, I have lived in Burlington County my whole life. My favorite part about serving as a commissioner is every town, all 40 towns, have something very unique. Some little gem, a little jewel that makes them who they are, gives them their character. And I get to go around and see all of them. So this is one of those jewels, one of those gems. I mentioned that my niece and nephew were baptized behind us about 3 years ago in this building. I was blown away at the time by its stunning beauty. And the other thing is, we're always focused, our culture and our world is about new, cutting edge. You know, what can we do better, faster, bigger? But if we never stop and appreciate what we have and we had and really look back at history, we're never going to know how far we can go. Or it's so important. So I am a history geek. So I am. That's why I'm here. That's why you got me today. So I just can't tell you what it means to me. This is so much more than just a church. It's so much more than just a charming log cabin. It is a piece of your community. It is your jewel. It is your gem. And thank you for just letting me have an opportunity to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Linda. Now I'm going to introduce again Brent Schottful, who is going to answer some questions about the grant.
First of all, I'd like to thank Linda for speaking, and it's always nice to have a greater community here. And I'd also like to thank Catherine for her wonderful comments about us being so easy to work with. The last time I heard that, I was a contractor, and they asked me what was I hiding, So, if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them either at the moment or later, or come up and go over it. It's something that has been very intimate for me for 4 years. We've had our ups and downs and how to make it work and so forth, but we think it came out very well. We invite everybody to go look at the work that was done. Somebody the other day said, "Well, I was on the side, I don't see what was done." Well, that's the nature of work. You're not supposed to see what was done. So if there's any questions, I'll answer them now. If not, if you want to ask me later, that's fine too. So seeing how everybody wants to get out of the sun, I don't blame you. So
I don't have any questions. Well, I do, because I call him all the time, poor guy, and text him. It's awful. But I would like, just us, just here. I would love it if you could stand, put your hands together, and thank Brent Schottful for everything he's done. He doesn't like that means you have to stand. No?
And I'm not hiding anything. Okay.
No, Brent was the lead, and he deserves the credit, so thanks.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, Brent. Brent just reminded me that we also have a plaque over at Memorial Hall. So if you want to take some time to go over and take a look at that one, after you get a chance to look at our beautiful plaque that we just had Joan cut the ribbon on earlier, you can feel free to do that, as well as pick up the materials, in the back. And now it is my honor to introduce Congressman Andy Kim, who represents the 3rd Congressional District of New Jersey. Congressman Kim was first elected to the U.S. House of Representatives in 2018. As a member of the House, Congressman Kim serves on the House of Armed Services Committee, the House Foreign Affairs Committee, and the House Committee on Small Business. He's the proud son of Korean immigrants and a native of South Jersey. Please welcome Congressman Andy Kim.
Hi, everyone. I don't even get to sit down for a second, do I? You just have me straight. Perfect timing, right? Well, look, I just want to say thank you for coming, and thank you for joining us as we just honor this great place and the restoration and the efforts that we have going on to preserve just the beauty of our area. This is such a beautiful town. It's such a beautiful building. It's such a beautiful area. Brought my kids and my family to be able to appreciate it all. But this is what makes our community special, and this is why it is that we take these efforts to be able to work together to find ways to be able to preserve, these great spaces that we have. It's a real great heritage of our community of South Jersey. And I just think it's what makes our area a place we can be so proud of. I always try to find ways in my work to just try to think about what it is that we can do together. I mean, there's no single level government alone that's able to kind of work to be able to accomplish this on its own. So it really takes a lot of local efforts, county efforts, and the federal efforts along with the state to be able to do that. So, I'm proud to be able to be a part of this and part of the broader team that's trying to do everything we can to be able to keep our community as beautiful as it is, and to be able to preserve these extraordinary buildings that add so much character to our community. It's, I have to say, just also just really wonderful to be here with all of you just outside and be able to gather together. And I think just beyond... So not only is this sort of a restoration of a building and a preservation efforts there, I really feel this as restorative for our entire community, as we are now finally being able to see that reopening and that new normal that we're having, and being able to, just before here I was taking my kids over to some of the different baseball games that are happening over in Marlton. It's just so great to see everybody out and about. So I hope you're all doing well. I wish your family all the best. If there's ever anything I can do to help, please don't hesitate to reach on out. But in the meantime, today we just take this step today to just honor this incredible preservation effort. So thanks so much, everyone, for letting me be a part of it. Take care.
Thank you so much, Congressman Kim, for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking time out of your family schedule to join us. Finally, I would like to reintroduce Reverend Tim to do our benediction. Thank you.
And just before you receive the benediction and blessing, I want to recognize another piece of our history that is here today. Jenny Leopold, who was our longtime associate pastor and also one of our pastor emeritus, is here with us, and we're grateful for the part that Jenny played in the beautiful history that we celebrate today. And now receive this word of benediction and blessing. As you prepare to go into the world determined to make the same kind of history that has been made in these buildings by the people who have worshiped here. Go into the world determined that you can make a difference in the name of God and for the good of humanity. Go into the world knowing that God will guide you. Go in goodness, go in grace, go in peace. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Meadows. Thank you all again for coming, and if you would like to tour the inside of the sanctuary, feel free. And again, there are programs on the tables and other material. Feel free to take them. Thank you again for all of you for coming. Thank you to our kind speakers for coming as well. We so appreciate your time and having you join us today. Thank you all.